To be fair, I never wanted to be a chef.
Be decisive, even if you're wrong.
So I was sick of having ideas, but having to run and bypass someone else first.
How are you dealing with the current issue in terms of staffing?
Being in the kitchen when I first started, it was like being in the army. All the chefs now are just getting appeased. And you've got a lot more freedom as an agency chef, but it shouldn't be like that.
I disagree.
No.
I disagree.
I know for a fact there's certain people that are going to be turning around now going, I probably should have respected him a little bit more.
So how did you get through that mentally on your own with no emotional backing at the time?
It was just, again, like anxiety. Straight away, it was so hard to deal with.
So you know me, I don't speak to my mother or father at all. I never had someone hold me back out of love.
I stopped speaking to everyone. Anything to do with business, you keep your friends out of.
Do you find you get more support from strangers than your friends?
Yeah.
A brilliant friend of mine just started a business in recruitment. I've always said he's had a fantastic network. He's worked in contract catering behind the TV scenes, so he's not shy in front of the camera, he knows how it all works. Chef Cam, welcome to De-Partie chat.
Hello, mate.
How's it going?
It's just a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, since I see you every other week. But, you know, I just wanted to invite you in because everything that you're doing, I see you as someone who's very motivated and aspirational, ambitious, hardworking, and I've always said that one of your key strengths is your networking skills, communication skills. But the objective of this today is to kind of share with people who are like 5 or 6 years behind us in the industry, kind of just getting back on their feet after the 3-year break from COVID and whatnot. I just want to share how you tackle your personal issues, your business issues, your career issues, any obstacles, and how you get over them. But yeah, let's start with, you know, who's around you that's inspiring, and what network, what do you see in your network that's gotten you so far, and why do you think it's a strength?
I mean, obviously, I was around a lot of people through when we worked together. There was a lot of different sites back then. Got to know a lot of different people. But then also from like the contract catering side of things that I've done in like TV, I met a lot of people through that. Yeah. And then after that, it's just people that have kind of come in along the way, people that have introduced themselves.
How do you separate the duds? And what I mean by that is, how do you separate the John Smiths and the Joe Bloggs of the industry that walk through the door in comparison to the people that have an influence and an impact in your network, and people that you can expand on, not utilise and use or step on, but more separate the duds from the people with value? I
think you can tell, but as soon as you speak to someone, if they come forward straight away, say what they do, say they've done this, they've done that, but then don't back it up, then there's no point even having a chat with them.
Do you get a lot of those?
Yeah.
With your networking skills, I've always said it. I've known you a few years now, and I've always said one of your biggest skill sets alongside your cooking is your networking and your team building skills. And it's beautiful to see how you've now capitalised on those skills and you've brought them forward to the forefront of what you're doing. You're still in the industry and you're now one of the leading recruitment agencies in Manchester, which is fantastic. So how's that journey been, that transition from being in the kitchen, wearing the whites and sharpening your knives and on the stoves every day, to now in the office behind the desk but dealing with the same kind of situations?
Obviously it's weird, you know, like, to be fair, I never wanted to be a chef.
Yeah.
I never, ever wanted to be a chef. And then we see one day I had to move down to Warrington. And my mum was working in a restaurant at the time as like a supervisor. And
how old was you back then?
I was 16.
16, first experience in the industry?
In the chefing industry,
Chefing,
yeah. So obviously I left the job that I had at the time. I was doing like joinery, stuff like that. And before that I did like a small apprenticeship in recruitment. Anyway, when I've gone down to Warrington, so she said, oh, we're looking for like a trainee chef. I was like, look, I can't even cook. I was like, even back then, like beans on toast was like the main thing that I could do. And I said, look, right, I'll come in, I'll do it, because I knew I was going to get the job because she was going to interview me anyway. And I went in, done my interview, started, and then within about 2 weeks, I turned around, I was like, right, fucking hell, I was like, I can actually do this.
You can do this, yeah.
Yeah, and then I started liking it. I liked the people in the industry.
What did you like about them? Because from my experiences in kitchens, best way I've ever heard it put is it's a kitchen in the industry is like a pirate ship. You know, it's horrible, it's rough, it's full of dirty banter, and it's a weird environment. It's like a pirate ship. But how did you find it back then? What was the culture back then, and how is it different to the culture that you're building in your teams these days?
Back then, there was much bigger teams, and there was people who will stay in the job for a lot longer. So I know for a fact I'd go into work and I'd know everyone in there. Now, if I walked into a kitchen, chances are 3 of them are agency chefs that I've never met.
Yeah.
But it's not just the chef side; it's front of house as well. Like front of house was massive, because obviously I met a lot of people in front of house that I'm still good mates with now, like from that restaurant.
Interesting, very, very interesting, because it brings us to a massive crisis, which obviously you're dealing with on the forefront with what you currently do. The massive crisis being the lack of professional chefs. And I put the word professional before that because there's chefs, and then there's professional chefs, isn't there, as you know. But then there's the lack of front of house staff, and there's the lack of people. There's a lack of talent. There used to be a talent pool back when I was in the industry, early days when I was in the industry. I rubbed shoulders with all sorts of people, different ages, backgrounds. But the talent pool has gone so diluted now that when you employ a handful of chefs, 90% of them have never been classically trained, have never worked in an environment where the discipline's set, the structure's set. So how are you dealing with the current issue in terms of staffing and finding people for these jobs and finding people in recruitment?
I mean, a lot of it comes down to word of mouth. At the end of the day, like I know a lot of people who know a lot of people who will probably know the right person to do it. And then it's obviously just people that we've come past in the years that we say, actually, do you know what? That person's going to be free. We'll get them to do it. But that's it, really.
Do you find it easy?
To be fair, yeah. It's going really well. Like everything to do with the business is going really well in that sense. But we have different tools than a restaurant. We have a lot different. Like we've got CV searchers. We've got people that are dedicated to just sitting there all day, every day to find you one person.
So let's just backtrack 2 steps here. You had your first experience in kitchens, in professional kitchens. How far did you take that before taking the leap or taking the step sideways into recruitment?
So 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 5 years in the kitchens minus that gap with COVID.
Yeah.
And then after that, well, to be fair, even during COVID, I was helping run the prep side of things for Burgerism, which obviously they've gone absolutely massive now. Even like things like helping them design sauces. But to be fair, obviously I didn't really enjoy it. I just liked being in work because obviously during lockdown it was very hard.
At which point in that period of time, 5 or 6 years, sweating and grafting in the kitchen, did you realise there's another opportunity here for you, or was it more of a situation where you were just sick of repetition? What was it that made you reevaluate and restructure your life?
I was sick of having ideas but having to run and buy someone else first, because obviously in any job, even as a head chef, as an executive chef, there's still an owner that you've got to run stuff past, and it just wasn't for me. Like I've always kind of knew at some point I'd have to work for myself, because I get argumentative, that, and that's just the type of person that I am. And I feel like things are going a lot better now because it's like I feel more respectable in myself that I've got my own thing going on.
Yeah, and how old were you when you started your business?
21.
21 years old. That's crazy. That is crazy.
I'm 22 now.
Same. I started my first business at 21 as well. That's crazy. But do you know when you hear somebody else say it, it's kind of like there's so much more in the world for you to learn, and it's quite audacious for people our age. Yeah. It's quite audacious for a 21-year-old to start a business because you're kind of assuming that you've mastered everything about it. Well, that's what the world thinks, but in actual fact, it's a 21-year-old who's prepared to learn and dive into a wealth of knowledge and admits that they don't know everything in that industry or in that business, and is willing to learn. And how many things have you started to pick up now that you're at the forefront of a business, and you've got no one to mentor you, report to, or no one to ask questions to other than people that you've had previously as mentors? How is that? How's that changed now?
I mean, obviously it's really weird. At first, usually you used to say, but you know what, I don't know if I should do this or not. I'll go and ask them what they think. But now it's like if you ask someone what they think, then it's nothing to do with them, and they wouldn't give you the same answer if it was their company, because they'll think about it logically, and that's what I need to do. That's exactly what I need to do. So obviously making the decisions now, I mean, obviously I'm getting used to it now.
Yeah.
But at first it was a little bit like I didn't want to go too far, I didn't want to do things too quick.
Safety nets.
Yeah,
training
kind
rules.
of. Now I'm kind of just going with the flow.
One of my philosophies is one big thing that I like to stand by is be decisive even if you're wrong. And the reason I stand by that is because when you're sitting on the fence and you don't know if you're going to go left or right, you go nowhere. At least if you go left and it's the wrong turn, you can go back and you can fix that. You might have wasted some resources and some time and effort, but you've learned a valuable lesson. However, it's much more progressive than standing at the crossroads, scratching your head thinking which way should I go. So one philosophy I carry is be decisive even if you're wrong. And how would you see young individuals now, say if I put a 21-year-old version of yourself in front of yourself now, what would you say to him? What kind of route should he take? Should he stick to the industry? Should he leave the industry? Should he take a sidestep into a different part of the industry? Is there something wrong with the industry? Is there something wrong with the chefing profession now? What would you say to him?
See, to be in the chefing industry at the moment is hard, no matter what side you're in. Being in the kitchens is very hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been hard though.
Yeah, no, it's always been hard, but there's always been a level of discipline, especially like in the earlier days. There was a lot more discipline. Now, chefs know for a fact that they're needed more than, so any chef can walk into pretty much anywhere at the moment and say, right, look, if you don't like it, I'm going. I'll be in work again tomorrow. So that's the thing that's going on at the moment. So the discipline's now getting harder because they can't find the chefs. So if anything, all the chefs now are just getting appeased.
What kind of damage do you think that's doing to the long-term culture of our profession that we've spent so many years refining?
It's just not right. Like, being in the kitchen when I first started, it was like being in the army. It was
intimidated by the exec and the head chef.
You've got to turn around like every single
sous
time.
chefs are like sergeants.
I remember once that I went into work and I was in a good mood. I was chilling. I seen the head chef. I was like, "You all right, mate?" And he was like, "What the fuck did you just call me?" He was like, "I'm not mate. I'm chef."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit, sorry."
Yeah. Where do you think what do you think is going to happen to that culture now?
It's going to die off. That side of it's going to die off because unless we start getting a massive influx of chefs, so that there's.
Do you think it's going to die off because a chef De-Partie on agency walks in and earns more than the sous chef and head chef and possibly could earn more in the day than the exec chef? Do you think it dies off because the financial structure of it is all back to front now, or is it strictly a culture thing?
See, there's a lot of different problems that equate to that, but then you've got, again, the people who are sticking by and working in these places that say that you're a chef, you're on £11 an hour or something like that. The chefs that are going in on agency are on 16, 17, 18 pound an hour.
Stay there?
So then they're looking at them chefs coming in and going, why am I staying here? Do you know what? In fact, I'll go and join that agency and I'll come back here on more money.
Yeah.
And they're just coming in, doing whatever they want. They're not really getting told what to do. And
you get more respect, some of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When you're a good agency chef and you turn up, you actually get a little bit more love than
as an agency chef, you can walk in anywhere and you can turn around and go, right, do you know what? I'm not going back there tomorrow, I'll go somewhere else. And you've got a lot more freedom as an agency chef, but it shouldn't be like that.
How important is freedom as a chef at the moment?
I think people have just got too comfortable with it.
How important is freedom as an individual?
It's something I like. It's something that I always liked. Like being able to go from like site to site, even when contract catering, when I was working with you at all the different kitchens, I'd take whatever chance I could to try and go to the different ones, just so it's not the same thing. But agency, again, you could work 5 days and work 5 different places every week, and you just kind of go around.
So
and
it's interesting because you've got a two-sided problem. With the business that you're now in, Fondant Recruitment has now got a two-sided problem. On one side, you do temp and permanent, which is brilliant. On one side, you've got the temp chefs who want the freedom. And then on the other side, you've got the full-time positions that you fill for your clients. You've done some high-end clients up in the Lake District, some 3 Michelin star restaurants. What was it, a Michelin star restaurant? Yeah, so you've got some brilliant clients, but you've still got the same culture that we've just discussed in terms of a chef that doesn't want to be stuck in one kitchen for a 2-3 year period and work his way up the ranks like they did in the 80s, 90s and 2000s. And then you've got a client that is literally demanding that from you. How do you balance both sides of that business now? Because you've got so much going on. You've got the chefs that need to be free and want to be free and chase the pound, respectfully. And then you've got the clients, which because their chefs are leaving and joining the agencies for the pounds and for the freedom, are now in demand of full-time members. How is this seesaw effect working, or how are you juggling that how are you and your team juggling that?
The main thing that we're trying to do is go more into the permanent side, because one, it's more ethical, it's something that I believe in. Obviously temporary, I'd want to go in that as if it was just kind of like an emergency thing. If we've got a business that we're helping with permanent staff, say a load of people have just walked out, they've gone on an agency, if we can send them someone, then that's great. But I want to start, because it'll work better for us if we start putting more people in permanent jobs and getting people to actually stay there. Then that'll reduce that rate of temporary chefs, and then it won't be needed as much.
It's brilliant. So when you lean more towards the permanent side, what you're actually doing, which is brilliant, is you're kind of repairing some of the damage that has been done to the industry over the last few years. Now I've got a very strong feeling, because I've spent a lot of time in this industry just like yourself, and I've got a very strong feeling that you might disagree because you work in recruitment more than I do now. I've got a very strong feeling that these overinflated chef rates are eventually going to come back down, or the rest of the economy is going to come flying up, where those chef rates are back to the place where they were 5 years ago and chefs weren't getting appreciated. You know, when it came to COVID, for example, half the chefs realised that they can earn £450 driving an Amazon van or a Tesco truck and have less stress, have their evenings with the children. So I personally think what you're doing by focusing on your perms is repairing some of the damage, and it's the culture that you're protecting. But do you see that as something that is not just financially futuristic, but culturally futuristic for the industry?
Well, on the financial side, something that we'll always do, if we're working with people who want permanent staff and they want to build a proper team up, then first of all, I'll sit down with them. Obviously, being in the industry, I know what people want and what people are willing to accept. I'll sit down with, whether it's a small business, massive hotel, and I'll say to them, look, I know these are the salaries that you're telling me that you want to pay, but when you actually look into it, we'll put our time and resources into it. And sometimes when we put job ads out, they literally get laughed at, because say like a chef De-Partie, I don't know, 24 grand, right? It's just not going to work. You've got chef De-Parties on £18 an hour. It's not going to happen. So what we try and do, we sit down with them and say, look, if you carry on the way that you are and you've got no staff, next minute you're paying £20+ an hour for an agency chef.
Look how much you're spending.
If you look at how much you spend on the next 2-3 chefs for the next 6 months, you can actually afford to pay a lot more in a salary to someone who wants to be there and someone who wants to stay.
How do you retain the chefs when they go to these permanent locations, and they also know that within the same company that recruited them to go to this client, for example, on a full-time job, they also know that they can go to the other side of your company and earn a short-term burst of money, say around Christmas time where people are desperate for extra cash. How do you keep your chefs inspired and disciplined enough to stick to the job role that they've been allocated and not jump ship to the other side of your business?
Because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, especially if I've got someone in a permanent role at one of the venues that we cover, not a chance that they're going to come work for me, unless for some reason they've got 3 or 4 days off and they just want an extra couple of days work. But apart from that, at the end of the day, my clients are my clients. I'm not going to take them. I'm not going to put them anywhere else that they shouldn't be. At the end of the day, the way that I see it, I found them to work in that role, and they should be staying there. And if they don't want to stay there, then
that's between them and the venue, isn't it?
That's between them. But I'll always try and go back to the venue and say, look, they're not happy. This is happening, that's happening. I've had it in the past at a hotel, and one of my lads rang me one day and he said, look, I'm leaving. And I was like, why? I was like, what's going on? And he was like, they've just walked into my hotel room. Like the room that they gave him to obviously to stay in, because obviously he was from Manchester. He's gone down there, And obviously, something like that is quite hard to argue with because it's just a breach of space. He said that he came in one day and they told him he was getting a new room, but instead of coming and getting him out of the kitchen, 2 people have gone in, emptied his room, and took all of his stuff to his new room. He's walked back, gone in this room, and all of his stuff's gone. He thought he'd been robbed.
Like being back in Manchester.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, either that, or he just thought he was going crazy, like he was in the wrong room.
How do you keep that from happening? There's nothing. That's down to the client's culture, isn't it? You can't physically do anything on your side. Once you've dispatched a chef, and even if you did the induction with them, once you've dispatched a chef to a client, there's nothing much else you can do from that point on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in terms of that, there's nothing.
Do you consider putting a structure in place where, once that chef's been dispatched and you've done the induction with them, is there a structure in place where you are still supporting them from a distance and you are still in contact with them?
Yeah, of course. We're not just here for the clients; we're here for the chefs, and it's not just chefs that we do. It's front of house, everything, hotel managers, whatever. We're still there for them. We can still kind of act as their support bubble. If they don't want to walk into where they are now and say, look, this is the problem I'm having, if they want to come to us, we'll happily go back to the client and say, look, this is what's happening. We just want to kind of nip it in the bud now. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be back to square one. And that guy's not going to have a job. He's going to want to leave. And then you're going to have to turn around to me again and I'll have to find you someone else. Yeah. So, but if it's working, just fix it now.
Yeah. How's it been? So, you've sidestepped, it's very interesting, you sidestepped from working in the kitchens directly. And you've also had your doubts when you was working in kitchens full time. Yeah, you didn't feel comfortable doing that full time. It wasn't. There was something missing for you. Knowing that, how do you inspire and motivate individuals to stick to their guns when they're going through what you went through? And at the same time, how do you also open new doors of opportunity for them? So I know, perfect example, you've got an employee that was working in the kitchens directly for you, and now he's sidestepped and he's running a desk for you in your office. That's brilliant. Now, is it a situation where a lot of your chefs want to do that? How do you keep them motivated to keep going out and dispatching them to jobs and working with clients?
Again, like you've just said about Callum coming working with me, that's the kind of thing that I want for the company. Because if I've got lads in there, not just lads, whoever, but whoever I've got in there, if they've been there, done that, even if they've not got sales experience, recruitment experience, having people like that in the office that can relate to all the people that we're talking to, instead of having some robot who's, it's like, say like, if I was doing airline recruitment, I don't even like going on planes, so I'm not gonna stand there and pretend that I know everything about it. But if I get a chef in there who's confident, he can talk, he can do whatever, that's all I need, because he can deal with the chef and he can deal with the client, because he's already done that.
You did something very interesting as well. You, which I respect. I respect this in leadership, and it was brought up in a previous podcast that I did as well. And you basically, so based off the fact that you're employing people and training them up from scratch pretty much, even though they've got culinary experience, they haven't got recruitment experience, sales experience and administrative experience. But you also brought in an individual into your team. Your networking skills is phenomenal. It's brilliant. You brought someone into your team who is far more advanced than everybody on your team, including yourself. Now that takes a lot of integrity to do, and I think it's a brilliant sign of leadership, because you're not insecure about who's in the team, trying to build a hierarchy. You're focused on the quality and the goal of the company. And you brought someone in who's very experienced and has built a structure for you, and it's paid off very well, I believe. How does he fit in with the rest of the team when they're either less experienced or have different opinions on things because they've been on the ground? How is that environment with the two contrasting individuals or team members?
Anyone that I'll speak with in terms of business, it's not me sitting there looking down at them. I mean, to be fair, I just have really informal chats. Yeah. And I don't want to ever say to someone, right, come and work for me. It's more like, come and work with me. We'll work together on it. See what you can do for the company, and then we'll see what we can do for you. Yeah. It's nothing like, I want you to come work for me. Yeah. I don't think I've ever said that to anyone. If anything, it's come and work with the company.
What kind of mental pressure is it at the moment for you?
It's crazy.
What's it like?
It's absolutely crazy. Like, I've never had to remember so much stuff in my life. I've never had.
Never trust your memory, bro. If one thing I've learned is always take notes, write things down, and no matter how good you think your memory is, never trust it. Treat it like an enemy. Your memory is an enemy. It goes over time.
I think the main problem that anyone trying to run a business or anyone who's busy has is just getting to sleep. Yeah. Because you go home, you try and wind down, it doesn't work, and then you end up either just going to bed, sitting there, looking like. Sometimes I'll sit there and watch the telly, but it's like my eyes aren't actually looking at it.
Do you know what's crazy? That was me last night.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was up until 6 this morning, just doing nothing. I ended up just playing games on my laptop.
Yeah.
Crazy. Just I wasn't even doing any work. I wasn't watching anything. I was just awake. I don't understand. And the thing is, I had a very relaxing evening. No, I didn't. I watched the football. Everything was great. But I should have been tired. I should have been exhausted. And I think what keeps me up at night is dreams, ambitions, goals, and other people might call it anxiety. I don't know. But for me, it didn't feel like anxiety. It felt like excitement. Because I knew I was going to do a podcast like this. I knew I was going to launch a new project. I knew I had some amazing people coming in, and that excitement just, you can't sleep how can you sleep when you know tomorrow it's a golden day? How can you rest? How can you close your eyes and dream? Which dreams are supposed to be great, right? Dreams are supposed to be fantastic, la la land, you know what I mean? But when you know your reality tomorrow is better than the dream you could possibly have tonight, that's a different kind of level. You don't need sleep, and I woke up fine today, energetic, refreshed, doing back-to-back work, and I feel okay. You know, there's an old quote that I like to read, and I think it's like about a young boy asking the old man, "Why do you always wake up so early?" And he replies, "If you knew who I was going to meet today, you'd wake up early every day too." And it's just that kind of concept. But
the exact same thing happened like last week. It was Sunday night. And I've been thinking about everything over the weekend, like what we can improve on in the office, that we need to start getting in touch with more businesses. And I remember I sat there and I thought, right, I'm going to give them like a little bit of a motivational speech tomorrow. So I ended up putting in our like little group chat at like 2 o'clock in the morning, right, 12 o'clock, I want you all in the meeting room, and we're all just going to be like, we're not grilling you, literally we're just going to have a little chat. I remember I sat there probably till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on my notes, just writing down key points of what I was going to say.
Do you want to share a point?
One of the little things that I did, obviously I went like a little bit of Wolf of Wall Street on him. I just walked around, I was like, right, are you going to be rich one day? Yeah, pretty much. I said, are you going to be rich one day? Are you going to be rich one day? And then I went, who actually thinks that they will be? And as soon as they all turned around and they were like, well, I'd like to be rich, but I don't know if it's possible. I was like, well, look, in here, anything's possible. You can come in here and make as much money as you want. You're all on commission. Well, you're all on salary and commission. If you want to make money, then I've given you the tools. You come in and make it. And then I said, look, it's like the harder that we all work together and help each other out, God, like we could have an office in Dubai at some point. We're speaking to airlines, like major airlines in Dubai, Saudi Arabia.
Massive things in the pipeline.
Yeah, and if that starts to happen and we start getting London offices, Dubai offices, we're all going to be travelling around. And I said, look, every single one of you that are sat here right now, you're like my first small team. Now, it'll be you guys rising with the company, not anyone else. I'm never going to get in anyone that's higher than you ever. Because you were here first. You're the only ones that are going to grow. So
it's progressive. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So where did the vision come from? Like, where I know. You know. Well, you've got great networking skills, and you're dedicated to the industry, even though you wasn't passionate to it, which takes a lot of discipline. That's nothing to do with motivation. That's discipline, and that's a brilliant trait to have. But where did the vision start for this, and you know, how far is this going to go, and how long do you want to keep it going for?
Well, look, I don't want to give this up ever. I mean, obviously there's other things that I want to get into, but I want to get this working to a point where I want to put someone in charge of it that knows exactly what they're doing, someone who hopefully is already with us at the moment, and I want to keep it going.
And what about you, your personal journey?
And there's a lot of different things that I do.
You was on Poundland's, what was it called? How we do it?
Yeah, how do they do it?
On TV, bit of TV work.
Yeah, so I'm a celebrity chef now.
Yeah.
So.
What did that entail? What was you doing with them?
So they asked me to go in. They've just started selling fresh food. Well, semi. That's what they called it. That's not what I called it. But obviously they asked me to go in there, do a little bit of filming, and basically gave me £25. And what I had to do then was
get off with the £25.
Yeah, I got off. I was out the back door.
Pocket it straight to the bar.
Well, so obviously I got off. No, I didn't get off. Went round. I had to get 5 meals using only fresh ingredients.
And you brought someone with you, didn't you?
Yeah.
From your company.
Yeah. So obviously.
Why did you do that?
He's a good chef.
Not only just for his skills, but this is what I mean with you. You do things so organically, you don't see what you're actually doing. What I see is you brought someone from your company who is the same person that you've sidestepped into another department in your company. You've taken him with you on a TV project. You are nursing his career. You are mentoring every step of his career now, and you're developing this individual. And when you say you wanted someone who could potentially run the business, you're looking for that without even knowing. You're looking for that in this individual, and you're trying to build that and coach that and coach that, over time, without even knowing. And this is what I say. This is what I mean when I say your team building skills and networking skills are phenomenal, and you do it so naturally and unconsciously. That's what makes it real.
I didn't even realise you just said it.
That's what makes it real. And this is the thing, from sometimes you have to sit down and listen to it from a third person's perspective, and you have to see what other people are seeing. You're not just giving him an opportunity because he's your mate and you get on with him. There's something deeper that you see in him. And I know because I've seen the same thing in this individual, because he is a brilliant chef, he is a brilliant individual. Now, it brings me back though, with him progressing alongside you, your team members progressing alongside you, you're looking to progress the team. Most tight shirt, top buttoned entrepreneurs would just say, well, if I find someone better, I'll hire him.
That's not how it's going to work. Not with me. Like, I've been into other agencies. Every single person that I've ever walked into in any other agency office in Manchester, they're not asked. Like, they're asked about the money. They're asked about what they get at the end of the month. I want people to be asked about what they're putting into the industry and what they can get out of it.
How are your team members reacting to you now? Because you must be a complete different character to what you was 3-4 years ago. You must be a complete different character to when we was working together. But how are the team members reacting to you, and in particular the team member that you're currently coaching and mentoring and developing? How does he react to your presence in the office, in the kitchen and outside?
There is a lot of respect. Like, I'll go above and beyond anyone who works with me, and if anyone needs anything, they know they can come to me. But at that time, all I ask for that is when we're in work, don't get me wrong, we all have a laugh. Like, I'm probably the most fun office boss in Manchester.
I've seen you giving shots to strangers.
That's the one. So obviously on that, anytime we do a deal or anytime we just do anything that makes the company a bit better, we've got like a little bottle of Ciroc in the corner, go over, have a quick shot.
Celebrate the small stuff.
Yeah, celebrate. And then obviously I got a bit too giddy. I was hanging my head out the window and I was like, hey, come on, have one of them. But it's just, that's it though. But the thing is, as soon as we do something like that, the work ethic goes up. And I'd like to say everyone in the office respects what I do.
Yeah.
Like, I'll always treat them. We go out on the weekend, I'll get us a table, we'll do whatever. Yeah, like, we'll all sit together. It's like a little family.
So you're building a culture in your workplace. That's brilliant. And so I know one of your employees had a personal issue, where he was attacked and it was uncalled for, and it's quite personal, isn't it? But how did you support him through that? And to follow up, why is it important that young individuals in our industry, young men especially, are protected, not just physically but mentally as well?
You see, it's a bit of a tough one without going into too much detail. Because obviously it's not really my place to say, but
you was there to support, and that's what I want to speak about. I want to speak about the support network that you put in place for him, and why is it important for you to do that?
Obviously, anyone who works at the company is important to me anyway. But in terms of that, it's just, you can't really do much other than be there for someone. It's that is literally the only thing that you can do. And without, especially because like people say like, oh, like lads, they should have like this big masculine image where it's like, oh, shut up, stop moaning. But obviously, anyone can come speak to me, and I'm not going to turn around to anyone.
It's pretty tough not to moan so you get hit by a truck. You know what I mean? What,
no, that's the thing though. There's some guys out there that will just turn around and go, right, shut up, stop being a girl.
Yeah.
And
that's
bad in itself.
You get mental pressure, like as a male coming up, and what you find is when I was coming up in the industry as a chef, there was older males in senior positions that had to. They tried really hard to assert some sort of dominance, and it's so toxic. And because our industry is very male dominated in the kitchens, even though cooking everyone's stereotyped as a female thing to do, it's actually very, very male dominated. And with all the egos and the aggression and the nastiness that you get from how does anybody expect any young chefs to want to be in that environment in the first place? You know
exactly. But again, like, there's been times where I've been sat there thinking, oh, do you know what, I could do with like speaking to someone about this. But then straight away it starts going in the back of your mind like, wait, hold on, I can't. Because that person will tell that person, they'll start taking the piss out of you. And then suddenly you've got no one. Yeah. It's like,
even if you told your family at home, you know, they don't get it because they're not in the industry, not there, and they just say, "Oh, just ignore him," or just, mate, I'm not in school.
Go and tell the boss.
On. Yeah. As if that's happening.
Like that's gonna work.
Yeah, exactly. So
you know what I mean, it's just gonna end up, especially if it's a problem with someone else in there. Usually, chefs just go outside.
Yeah.
Take your Crocs off. Bang.
Nah, you know what you do? You heat up a spoon on the stove and you grab him on his way.
I've done that before.
To the pass.
No, when I've burnt myself. No, sorry, I cut my finger open. Literally straight over char grill. That's just it. And then obviously, especially because the only reason I did that is because of how busy we were.
Don't have time yet.
It's either I go hospital and I'm not going to be stood there on the pass, or I'll just go over, singe it, have a little tear for a second and just get back to work.
Yeah, it gets heated in kitchens, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's very heated in kitchens.
And then people get so annoyed if you go outside, let's say you go for a fag or whatever, and you don't take them, then straight away it's like a bit of a war then, and it's like, right, I'm going now because you've just
I almost had a fight in the kitchen because the sous chef threatened to deep fry my speaker that another chef De-Partie was playing music on. Weird. Anyways, well, do you know, going through that, so in your early years going through that, who was supporting you at home? Like, you know, did you have your parents around? Did you have your grandparents, your cousins? You know, who was behind you? Who was supporting you? Who was your emotional foundation?
To be fair, like, obviously my mum and dad split up before I started in chefing, and I stopped speaking to everyone. So, yeah. Like family wise, I went off the map completely, and it was more like I was just trying to go out and enjoy myself, so I didn't have to go home. And then especially when I became a chef and I met like-minded,
they become your family, don't you think?
Drunk people, basically. Yeah. Obviously that's how I gelled into it so fast, because I started figuring out, like, I'm not even gonna lie, like I was 16, 17 hanging around in different pubs with all the chefs, girls off the front of house, lads off the front of house, and because I was with all them, obviously they thought I was 18, and I was going out, I was in nightclubs at like an early age, and then after that it was like, right, well, I felt like I didn't need anyone, because obviously you can go out, you can have a drink after work, and
it's numb at the time, but does it not all catch up with you at some point?
It's catching up now.
Yeah.
Now it's.
And how are you handling that? Because I've done the same thing, but the thing is, the way I did that, I did push a lot of people away, mainly my sisters, more than anything. Obviously, you know me, I don't speak to my mother or father at all. But that was never down to me pushing them away. That was just the way life was. And sometimes, you know, I can't be bothered speaking to my close relatives, like my cousins and people like that. But the way I dealt with it was just working so intensely that, and I didn't go out and get pissed every night like everybody else was doing. I was too focused on refining. I was passionate about refining my skills. I was working 7 till 4 doing a prep day, then 5 till 11 in a restaurant somewhere every day. And the reason I didn't want to go out drinking and I left certain jobs because of the culture there, is because I've seen these older chefs who are twice, nearly 3 times our age, you know, living out of a suitcase. They never see the kids, break up with the wife, taking cocaine, alcoholics. I didn't want to live like that, regardless of how much money that they're earning. I didn't want to end up like that, so I based a lot of my decisions coming up in the industry around that mentality. However, when I reached a point in business and I started making a little bit of money, still stayed away from all the drugs, but I turned and started going out in the clubs a bit more, drinking, socialising, hostesses out, this, that, the other.
I know I was there.
But I feel like I went off the track that I was so disciplined to stay on for so long, and I let out all this excitement, and then I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong. But I feel like it didn't do any damage. I don't think it's done any long-term damage.
Knocked you back off balance
It
again.
just knocked me off balance, and I spent a little bit of time out of the kitchens again. And now I'm finding a way to get back into them. I'm going to go away and work somewhere for a little bit and just get back into the groove. Not because I want to be a chef for life, because like yourself, I decided, do you know what? I love this industry. I love my skill set. I love the culture behind it. I love everything that I've achieved and everything that I've done with my career. But I don't want to be doing this particular job for the rest of my life. And I don't even want to progress in this particular job for the rest of my life. And the reason for it is because I've seen, just like yourself, that there's other parts of this industry that's so much more enjoyable, like opening a bar, like starting a recruitment agency, like opening a food truck. I like doing contract catering for a venue that, you know, shuts halfway through the day and you don't have to stand there over a ticket machine at 10 p.m, sorry, you know. But then again, it brings me back to the same challenge that you've got. Whilst I'm trying to get out of that cycle, how do I then motivate team members to do that job under my organisation? And the way I found a solution was everything that I've learned, all the discipline that I've learned, the belief system that I hold in the industry in terms of staying away from certain things, staying away from certain people, keeping everything as clean cut as possible and professional as possible. I try and implement that into them so that they go through that same 10, 11 year journey that I went through. So they'll want to refine the skills, they'll want to become a better person, they want to stay away from certain crowds, and then before you know it, they'll commit themselves to my cause, my brand, and what they're getting out of it is the experience to build up and eventually step into the shoes that I'm standing in. And I feel like without knowing, you're doing the same thing with the individual that you're currently coaching up, and you don't even realise it. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I think the main thing is to keep anyone working with you. All you've got to do is create a fun environment.
Yeah, but I disagree.
I disagree. Not as in like too fun.
No, I disagree. I reckon you got to keep a healthy environment. A healthy environment isn't necessarily fun, and the reason for it is because your employees don't like the fact that they have to keep ringing up new clients and keep chasing up emails.
Yeah, of course
they're not going to enjoy that. However, it's necessary to complete that job, and it's rewarding to complete that job.
Yeah, fair enough. They might not enjoy the first part of it, but when they get to walk, like tomorrow, we're heading to the Lake District tomorrow. We've got an interview with a hotel manager for a new venue that we've just got. When they get to walk into there and they get to see his face when he gets offered that job, that's different.
I understand. I agree. It's a very rewarding industry to be in. But then again, I could still argue the point and say that not every work environment needs to be fun. Let's say, for example, Gareth Southgate, his camp right now are gearing up for a big game on Saturday, and really and truly, is their camp going to be fun? No, it's going to be very, very tough. But is playing football fun? Yes, it is. But to get the work done, sometimes fun's not needed. It just needs to be a healthy environment, a very coercive environment. And I feel like you are building that, but don't try to focus too much on fun, my advice would be. Yeah,
of course, but it's
sometimes
maybe not as much fun, but reward.
Yeah, you got to bring the hammer down sometimes.
Yeah, the reward. Hey, I'll shout at people if I have to, but I've not had to because the environment that we keep everyone in, everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone knows if they do well, then they'll get rewarded.
I need a job here.
Yeah, well, you can come. But as long as people know that, then if they start to look at other jobs, And they go, well, actually, do you know what? I get a lot more from this place. I get, like, I don't go in work and I sit there with like a frown on my face.
Yeah.
I've not got to worry about the people that I work with because we're all like a close little family.
Richard Branson, one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, turned around and said, if you look after your employees, they'll look after your business. Now, if that's not a blueprint for success, and I always believe success leaves footprints in terms of people that have done it before you, if you not just rip off, but study, copy, implement their structures, their systems, then you're guaranteed success because it's a proven concept. So if he's saying it, then he's bang on. If you look after your employees, they'll look after your business.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say if you build a fun environment, your business will. He doesn't say that.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know what I mean?
But what we do works.
Yeah.
And it works for everyone in there.
No, that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
No one takes the piss. Like, obviously say, yeah, we might have 10 minutes where we all have a bit of a laugh, take the piss out of each other a bit, throw stuff at each other, whatever. But just something like that, it gears everyone up. It gives everyone that little bit of urgency.
Little bit
and
of
then,
agency.
Literally, as soon as we're done, they turn around, straight back on the computer, straight back ringing people. And that's what I want.
How did you go from doing kitchens with me and working with me to the TV studios and recording and what was it you was doing there? I don't really understand it myself.
So I was doing kind of like location catering.
Location, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was like the catering for the filming crew.
Yeah, filming crew, producers.
I've got some filming crew that need filming today. Need feeding today.
Nah, I forgot how to cook now.
What was that like? It's very different, wasn't it?
That is probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Why?
Because obviously you're filming all day. Like you're filming from 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. But then obviously as the chefs, say you've got 200 crew there, they want their breakfast at 6:30. So then you're there at 4:30, sausage, bacon, egg, beans, whatever, 200 people. Then you go out and serve it. And then you've got to get lunch ready for 12 o'clock.
Why did you do it then?
It was something different. It was something different, and the money is very good. Money is very good.
It's a nice motivating factor, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously.
I feel like you did it for more than just the money, though. You know.
Contacts.
Exactly, and this is where again your networking and your mindset for networking. I always come back to it. You didn't do that for no reason. You didn't go into that environment and throw yourself in at 4:30 in the morning to get the mushrooms in a pan with some butter for no reason. You didn't do that. It's not like you. It's not like obviously you might have got fed, which I know is rare in Salford. Yeah. But you didn't do it for the. You didn't do it like for the knowledge of progressing your culinary skills, did you?
No, like
you didn't do it because you couldn't make money elsewhere.
Yeah.
You didn't do it because you was desperate. You did it on the simple fact that you could expand your network, which ultimately opens new doors and new access and new potential revenue streams for your current business, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how important is it that someone who's 5-6 years behind you understands and recognises these sacrifices that you've got to make now? Because when you see a 17-year-old, 18-year-old turn up to work and you tell him, right, you're making button mushrooms and you're getting the bacon on and you're buttering these barms and you're dropping some hash browns in the fryer, they're going to think, oh, I've just done 3 years in college to do this, which is understandable and it's frustrating.
You got to start at the bottom.
But how would you explain to someone who's just stepping into this industry that sometimes you've got to take a hit on the work that you're doing for the bigger gains in the long term?
The only thing that I could possibly say is if you genuinely think that you're going to come out of school, come out of college and know everything, I don't know everything now, but you could throw me in a fine dining restaurant now, I'll jump in. There's still some things that I won't know. I've not done everything.
Why did you never pursue? Because I spent a little bit of time doing, contemporary food before we ever met, and I built up quite a strong foundation of skills and knowledge. And I won't say I'm the best. I'm not going to boast that I'm the best. I'm not going to say that I can prep every ingredient under the sun. But I've got a massive foundation and a massive wealth of knowledge and skills that I can go into any industry, any kitchen, any restaurant, and safely deliver the food at a high level. Now, why did you never take that journey? Is it because so far everything that you've kind of told me about so far has been quite easygoing food. It's not. I'm not
I
saying
mean, I've done fine dining, tasting menus, stuff like that. But to be honest, yeah, it's all good doing that. But the way that I looked at it was, I could either be in here creating food. No one knows who I am. No one knows what I'm doing.
It's not your name in the door, is it?
It's not. At the end of the day, I was getting paid again to run someone else's business, and I'm making food that's not mine. I wanted to come out of it, get into something where it was mine, and I'm coming in and I'm actually helping businesses.
So how did you get through that mentally on your own with no emotional backing at the time, and knowing that you're not happy at work, still persevering, staying disciplined to stay focused? How did you get your head around that at such a young age?
I knew something was going to come.
How? What was it that told you you're destined to be somewhere? Because people can be at that age and have so much doubt, and they just give up and altogether just don't try. So why did you not just?
I mean, at first, obviously, when I started working with you, whatever, I took on that little restaurant.
Ah, the gallery. Yeah, I remember I came and seen it. Yeah.
So took that on. Now, obviously, I knew that wasn't going to be anything massively successful, whatever, just because of the location, everything.
Do you remember what I told you?
Yeah, I know.
Before, for the record, go on.
He said nice. Basically, just said don't do it. Just don't bother with it.
I could see it. You could have dodged a bullet there.
I know. But obviously, again,
how was that though? When you ignore the fact that okay, it didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out. It didn't pan out the way the owners wanted it to pan out. But how does that work for you, being so much younger and then employing a chef that's older than yourself? How do you demand that respect? Because I do believe that respect is earned, don't get me wrong, but there's also a certain demand that goes with it. Like, for example, someone quoted, which was brilliant, the ocean demands respect. You can't just drive up the desert, get to the ocean and think, screw the ocean and keep driving. It demands you to build a boat and build a sail, and then you see a storm coming. So the ocean demands respect. So how do you demand that respect from older employees, people that are working for you, under you, and have a little bit more about them?
If anyone wants to come work for me, that's fine. Obviously, we'll talk. But a lot of people know, like you said yourself, I know a lot of people. I'll never be without a chef or a good chef. If you want to come in and you don't want to respect what I'm doing, that's fine. I'm not even going to say anything to you. I'm just going to get someone else in. And sooner or later, people will realise. And I know for a fact there's certain people that are going to be turning around now going, I probably should have respected him a little bit more.
Are there any chefs that you've come across before you was an entrepreneur, before you was a head chef, before you became a sous chef, any of the higher ranks in the industry? Are there any individuals that you came across that you look back at now and think, what a muppet, and kind of think like they could have treated you better, and if they had, you would have been on a different path? Or is there any chefs like that you come across? Or any people like that you come across?
Definitely.
And
there's people that I know for a fact now that are watching what I'm doing. Because obviously Instagram, everything, you see people's names pop up that aren't usually popping up. You see people's friends don't follow you, whatever, that are popping up, watching what you're doing. And to be honest, it's just funny. It's just really funny. Like, I do not care.
How are you viewed amongst your age group now? Not just in the industry, but just on a social level.
To be fair, I don't go out and I'm like, oh, look at me, what I'm doing. But a lot of people are a little bit different with me now, just because I wouldn't say I've made it, but I've gone out and I've done it.
It's because there's a demand there of the respect, like the ocean.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, unless I'm in working hours, I'm the same person. I don't change. I've not changed since. I mean, I might have got more confident.
Have you ever had an issue with keeping your head strong and staying focused?
Easily.
How? When?
Easily. Like, setting this up was the hardest thing I ever did.
Why?
But it was just, again, like anxiety. Straight away, it was so hard to deal with.
Because you didn't know.
I didn't know what was going to happen, but it didn't stop me from doing it.
So what would you say to someone who turns around to you and say, oh, I want to start a company in recruitment? What's the first thing that comes out of your mouth?
I'd tell them exactly what I did. And I'd tell them that one of the main things that I wasn't really that bothered about it not working. I was bothered about what people would think if it didn't work. And just either don't tell anyone or just fuck what they think.
Yeah.
Fuck what anyone else thinks. At the end of the day, even now, I'm not doing it for anyone else, I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, even at first, when I first told like my mum and my dad that I was going to do it.
What did they say?
At first it was a little bit like, all right, okay, whatever. And as things started to like progress a bit, started getting my logo and stuff, I think at one point my mum actually said to me like, right, just be careful, as in like, maybe like don't do it. But I don't.
That's brilliant that you say that, because that's brought me to another point that I like to personally talk about on a social level with a lot of my friends. And what it is, I personally didn't have my mum and dad around, so it never really happened like that for me. But what I mean by what I'm going to say next is, I had free reign on my life. I had nobody to bubble wrap me or protect me from scraping my knee outside, stealing a Kit Kat from the shop, kicking someone's car door, being a nuisance. I had no one to restrict me with the choices I was making. Not as a child, not as an adolescent, not as an adult, never. I did have people to rein me in and bring some common sense to my life though, don't get me wrong. But I never had someone holding me back out of love. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
I never had somebody holding me back out of love. And so my message right now for anyone who's listening to this right now would be, your mum, your dad, your uncle, your auntie, your grandmother, your grandfather, your sister, your brother, your cousins, they all love you to pieces. But if you want to get shit done, if you want to get something done, if you want to make that first step, don't listen and take everything they say as gospel. Take it all with a pinch of salt, because the bottom line is, it's your life.
Especially if they've never done it before.
Especially if they've never, no one can advise me on something that
they've never done.
For example, we both talk, and you know, I've not even brought it up in the podcast, but I've also got a recruitment agency, and the reason me and you talk so much is because we're passing knowledge and intel between ourselves. Do you think somebody else could come into this triangle that's selling cakes for a living and have the conversation about recruitment with us?
No.
Not a chance. You wouldn't listen, I wouldn't listen. No. Unless they've actually done it before and they've got something, a decent point, or they've dealt with a recruitment agency before and this is what they're saying. Then no, I'm not going to listen to how you want me to run my business or run my life.
Exactly.
So there's people in life that hold you back out of love, and it's because they don't want you to trip, fall, scrape your knee, metaphorically. And those people are even more dangerous than the people who say you can't do it. The people who dare you. Oh, I bet you can't do that. I dare you, go and try it. The people, yeah, exactly. Watch me. The people who love you more because you know it's coming from a place of love are even more dangerous to your ambitions and your dreams than the people who dare you to go and do it. And that is a massive, massive, massive factor in any young person's life.
Yeah, because obviously that's coming on across in a negative way. If someone turned around to me that I didn't particularly like and told me that I couldn't do something,
at least you know where they stand. Yeah.
No, but before them, if they told me that I couldn't do something, I'd do it just to piss them off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Point to prove.
Yeah, like I'd just do it. If anything, I need more bad people around me.
Yeah.
So I want someone to come to me and tell me that I'm not going to win the Euro Millions.
This is the thing. It's not so bad being enemies with somebody, because have you ever watched a film called Rush? It's about
No.
I think his name's Joe Hunt and Nicky Lauda from back in the day. They was in the Formula. He was in Formula One. So what happened was they was in Formula 3 together. Joe Hunt was British and Nicky Lauda was a rich kid from Germany. Hunt was a brilliant driver. Lauda was a very, very intellectual man. Yeah. So you had brains versus broad. Hunt was getting all the girls. He was, you know, just living his life and becoming a great driver. Lauda secured investment into like Mercedes and became a Formula 1 driver before Hunt. Hunt then followed up, and they built this massive rivalry. They was enemies. They couldn't stand each other. Every time at the side of the tracks, they would be at each other's throats. They would call each other names. Horrible, massive rivalry. You need to watch the film. It's brilliant. Lauda ends up getting into a massive accident on the racetrack because they was on the Nürburgring and it was raining, and he tried to get the entire race to stop, and he turns around and he says, Hunt turns around and says, you just don't want to race because you know if we skip this race, then you've pretty much won the whole league, or however it's called in Formula One. And Lauda was like, all right then, say no more, fuck you, let's do it. Went on the track, crashed, burned himself alive, survived. The only thing that got him through his treatment, he was literally pumping his lungs out. The only thing that got him through that treatment was seeing Hunt continue the rest of the league and gain points on him. Then it came to the end of the film, and Lauda turns around and he sees Hunt in a private air hangar, and he turns around and he says, it's not so bad having enemies, because I can't remember the word for word, but he says, a wise man once said you get more from your enemies than any friend. And then he goes, look at us now, we're both champions of the world. That's not so bad, is it? And they're two enemies. So you get more from your enemies than your friends, and it's the same concept when it comes to your family. Your family love you so much. They want you to be safe, they want you to do well. I don't want to do well, I want to do great. I want to be safe, I want to risk it all. You know what I mean? It's
problem is with friends crazy, as well. Like a lot of your friends, like you don't realise it, but they actually don't want to even see you do well.
They want to either be a part of it or take a piece of it.
Yeah. And sometimes not even that. Sometimes they just don't want you doing better than what they are.
Yeah, they just don't. They don't want to be left behind sometimes. But there's also, don't get me wrong, there's also friends out there who really do encourage you, and there's friends.
You know exactly which ones are which.
Yeah, there's friends out there that, you know, say for example, I've got a friend. She's a singer. She's brilliant. And every so often we'll catch up, and we'll catch up for like 2-3 hours, you know, and I'll send her loads of inspiration, like to do with her industry, opportunities, or even shows and gigs that I'd want to go to along with her as friends. And she does the same with me. There's restaurants, there's pictures, there's of food, there's all sorts of stuff, and they're the kind of friends you need, because they're inspiring. If you've got a friendship circle that's not inspiring you and it's kind of dead in the water and there's no ripple effect, then what are you doing with them? You're not. You're just basically going out and wasting your life away together, not building any actual bonds or completing any actual challenges together or experiencing anything new together. You know, you need friends to travel with, to go, like, you know, as kids, people went and did Duke of Edinburgh, they did all these excursions as kids, and you become close friends with these people for life, you know. In the adult world, sometimes it's not so easy to build these connections with people because everyone's too fickle, or they're too busy, or they don't want to know, or they just want to see what they see on social media. Especially these days, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's one of them things. Like, I've got a lot of friends that I grew up with, hardly even speak to anymore. But a lot of it was either I've been too busy, or they've been too busy. But then it starts getting a little bit like, oh right, you don't even message me anymore. Like you don't even do this. Like you never message me, you never call me. And then like sometimes I've had to turn around and go like, look, at the end of the day, you know what I'm doing. Like, I'm trying to sort something out.
Do you find you get more support from strangers than your friends?
Yeah.
And how does that
easily?
How does that affect your outlook on what you're doing in your journey, and even the people that you grew up with? How does that affect you?
To be honest, it doesn't. It doesn't. I think anything to do with business, you keep your friends out of. Unless they already work with you, whatever, keep them out of it. Look, I've been in situations, even like with this business, I've trusted people too much. I've had my friends try and rob clients off me under my nose.
Yeah, wow.
And
how did you deal with that in the end? That's one way to do it.
That's it. Like, but do you know what? There's a lot of people that I'll do anything for, but I'm not here to stick about with deadbeat people that don't want to do anything. Like, look, at the end of the day, it's nothing to do with money. It's nothing to do with anything. Like, I only want to be around people that are going to help me, but not with the business. But just if I see someone else doing something, I'd be like, right, yeah. Do you know what? Bit of motivation. That's all I want. Yeah. If someone's just sat at home, 24/7, playing on their Xbox or trying to steal my clients. Do you know what I mean? It's
two different things.
Yeah, but still, either way, like
playing on their Xbox or trying to steal my clients.
Boom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're trying to add my clients on PSN and all that.
Yeah.
But
no, what can you do in these situations? Like you put people in a place of trust, out of trust for them, and previous relationship statuses with them. So say like you've done a lot of work together with this individual, you put them in a place of trust, and I've been there. You know full well I've been there, and I understand. And the only way you can deal with it is to cut the arm off whilst it's still rotting before the rot spreads. Don't really know how to put it, like you know. But this industry is there's so many opportunities, is there not?
Yeah.
In this industry, and what just to wrap up the end of the podcast now. Obviously, I've gone through so much with you today. You know, with your TV, Poundland TV studios, you know, your recruitment agency, the gallery, and you know your outlook on life. Just if you was to say a few things in a few words, for the purposes of yourself watching this video back, not necessarily for the viewers, not necessarily for me, not necessarily for you right now, but for you to watch this video back in however many years' time, and just to almost a measure of your journey, a distance, you know, how far you go. What would you say? What would it be?
The main thing would be, whatever you want to do, stay in that industry, learn about it, and then after that, once you've learned enough, no matter how old you are, if you think you've learned enough by 20 or 29 or 39, whatever, just go for it. But only do something that's going to help. Don't do something where you're just going to make a quick bit of money. Do something where you create a decent environment and create help for other businesses. And whatever you do, don't leech off anyone else's idea. Come up with your own idea and don't leech off anyone else's. Because that's their thing, and you're not going to be anywhere near as interested in it as they are.
What would you say to the individuals who are 5 years behind us now, just getting the feet wet in the industry?
Don't think you know it all. Listen, learn from people who have done exactly what you've done and exactly what you want to do. If you figure out that you want to be a restaurant manager or you want to be a head chef, find a good head chef, work for him, and carry on listening to him and watch how they do things. Because if you want to be like them, there's nothing better to do than spend time with them. And go out with them after work, whatever. You're not leeching off them. You want to learn how they do things because you respect the way they do it.
There's a situation there from when I was a younger chef. I was about 19 or 20 years old, and I was working at a restaurant, and we did a taster menu for the private dining room. So you got the main a la carte service, and we did a taster menu for the private dining room. And I remember the head chef, once we finished sending that taster menu out, he took the menu and he threw it in the bin and he continued orchestrating the service as per normal. Typical Friday night, Saturday night, whatever day it was. And I remember I walked from my section, I was on larder. I've left larder, I've gone round, and I remember going to the bin and picking the menu out, looking at it, looked at the chef, he's seen me do it, he's looked at me and looked away, I folded it up, put it in my pocket and went back to my section, continued my service. He never said anything to me, I never said anything to him, but instantaneously he respected me more from that point on. I could feel the way I was being received, everything about my journey in that kitchen after that point was different, because he saw this guy's not just here because he wants to earn a pound or two. This guy's here genuinely on the mission to further his knowledge and expand it. It's crazy. Like, you've just reminded me of that memory. It's a crazy memory to have.
Anyone will take you on and keep you on if you're actually there to do your job.
Yeah.
If you just turn up half an hour late, go out every single night, come in hungover, mope around, it's not going to work. And you might get a new job 3 months in, same thing will happen. If you actually want to get somewhere in life, just go in and just
I want to ask you something very, very personal and delicate. It's not about your personal life, but it's about your personal journey. And I want you to I want you to share with people who are in your situation and they're younger than you are now, and they don't have an emotional network behind them, or they just don't want to be around their family at the moment. I want you to share a little piece of advice for them, how they can keep pushing on, because sometimes life gets very hard and you break your heart Sometimes you break your own heart. Sometimes you get let down, and you don't have anyone to turn to. What would you say was the key to getting yourself through that and persevering through all those tough challenges without that network?
I mean, what, without friends? Or?
No, without the emotional support of family, and you kind of distance yourself, and through that period where you're just drinking it all away, now that it's all dwelling on you again, and it's all come back to you, and you know you're paying the conscious price. What would you say to someone? What would you say to your younger self from 5 years ago in that situation? What would you?
To be fair, I'd say stick your head down, get in work, keep yourself busy, and any serious problems that anyone's got, that's what friends are there for. And if you have any close friends, you speak to them.
Was your friends there for you, helping you through it?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I never said half the stuff that I should have said.
Yeah.
Like, my life would be a lot easier now if I opened up about it.
Why is that though? Why is that important?
It's just a man thing.
Well, why is it important that we do open up?
Otherwise, you don't realise it, but it's like you've got a little milk bottle inside yourself, and every time you add to it, it gets fuller, fuller, fuller.
And it turns sour.
Yeah, and then it turns very sour, and then one day, something a little bit bigger will happen, and the whole thing will smash.
Yeah.
And then you'll realise you've got problems, not just that one that's just happened, but other ones that start coming around to bite you, and you just deal with things when they happen.
What do you say to people who see problems bigger than what they are? Let's say, for example, not to downplay anybody's personal problems at home, let's say, for example, you're making breakfast, you burnt the bacon, and all hell breaks loose because that to them is a massive problem. What would you say to people who see problems that are very small and amplify them for no reason? And I'm not downplaying anybody's life problems, I'm just saying, like, there's a philosophical approach here.
I know that some people are like that, but at the end of the day, you've got one life, and to let something like that get to you that much, it's just not worth it. You're not going to enjoy your life if that's how you want to live it.
Yeah,
brilliant
advice. Brilliant advice. So to wrap that up, treat your problems like a burnt bit of bacon. It's not that deep. You can make some new ones.
Pretty much.
But Cam, I appreciate you coming on. Have you enjoyed it?
I've loved it.
Oh, brilliant. Make sure you guys follow De-Partie Chat, subscribe, like, share. See you all next week. That was a good one. That was very, very good. Very good.
All right, love.
Very, very good. That's us done for the day now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fucking hope so.